Welcome back, everyone. We we are on part 4 of our um, Dragon Ball anime saga tier list, and so far we finished off all of S rank, all of A rank, and last time we also finished all of B rank. So we recapped the first 5 arcs here. So I think we can repeat why these 5 arcs are all B rank as well. Red Ribbon Saga dragged out for too long, but it had so the Red Ribbon Army so the first part of the story where Goku was looking for the 4-star ball was a good motivation for him to get involved with the Red Ribbon Army, and then Upa's father dying was a good enough personal stake for us to care that Goku succeeds. The Red Ribbon Army, despite being weak as shit compared to Goku, had some dangerous foes, and similarly the Uranai Power Potion had some dangerous challenges to overcome for Goku to achieve get to Shannon and wish Upa's dad back. Also amazing training by Master Corin. It's not a Shakespeare level, but it did its job. He did his job as a martial arts god of martial arts, so that's fine. The low what takes it below A rank is obviously the dragging out. There was a lot of filler. Some of you can say it's world building, but some of that world building was just not really that interesting. We saw Goku team up with Krillin, defeat that robot, but then we got a Dr. Slump crossover that just exists for promoting each other, you could say. Other than that, there was no reason to. If you aren't a fan or are interested in to watch Dr. Slump, that portion was a waste of time because it was just mildly funny. So I watched Dr. Slump and it just wasn't as interesting to me. I have seen better comedy animes even back then. Like, it's not. I am not even comparing it to Spy X Family right now, or as a manga Daio. It's just some poop jokes mainly and little death. So, and obviously the Uranai Baba Potion really dragged the arc down, but it had a payoff in Goku meeting his grandfather, so there's that. And the Pilaf gang appeared again, which is always something to look forward to, except in Dragon Ball Super, because Dragon Ball Super ruined everyone. 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai. Goku didn't have any personal stakes, unless you want to count him finally trying to become the strongest fighter and beat Jacky. Maybe that getting that rematch is a good enough reason to watch that fight, to see if now freshly from Corin's training Goku, who also honed in skill in filler, can finally defeat Master Roshi. It was a nice version when Roshi actually lost and he had to fight Tien, who actually had a personal stake in avenging um, Tao Pai Pai, a person he looked forward, he idolized, and now is no longer with us, at least in that arc. And the anime portion had really good highlights, but overall, there wasn't a lot in that arc that really made you as hyped as in the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai. The fights were slightly better overall. Like, you can say the fight, in terms of entertainment, the final fights depends on what you prefer. And Tien had some really creative techniques, but he couldn't challenge Goku as good as Master Roshi could. Back then, obviously, Goku trained under the god of martial arts, so, and destroyed an entire army, so there isn't much what Tien or Tenshinhan could have done, unless you want to have some plot-induced random power-up to justify that. It organically led to the King Piccolo arc, which is another mid-good arc, so to speak. King Piccolo was built up as a threat even above Master Roshi, and even at his weakest requires someone like Master Roshi to give his life just to seal. So there's a certain level of danger. He can just, in his youth form, he can just swing his hand and destroy a city casually. Nuke, perhaps even nuke entire countries. And Goku had to drink the holy water, the real holy water, to even to actually surpass. Which in the anime was better, because the anime is superior in every way, and actually he earned it, unlike getting a free power out of nowhere. He actually got a free power up, but he actually had to do stuff to get that power up, which didn't amount to conveniently having a few people around him that hold hands and give him a free power up, turning him into a Super Saiyan God or something. Yes, the manga version was obviously worse. So, but held King Piccolo arc back. It's pretty much feels like a copy of the Red Ribbon Army, and Piccolo was still kinda comical villain and was surpassed way too quickly. So after defeating Piccolo didn't feel sad, challenging, and Goku manhandled him just like he manhandled Tao Pai Pai. But it had some good stakes, and also it led to the next arc, which is the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai, or Piccolo Jr. Saga, which was held back by some plot holes where you question why didn't these characters do the obvious. Why does the planet need a god like Kami? Like, this is not like the god that created everything and looks after it. He just looks after the people, but what does he do? Like, we don't know what Kami actually does as a god, what his responsibility is besides looking over Earth. And if you really need something like a god like that on Earth, if he killed himself, a lot of collateral a lot of damage done to the earth would have been spared. So, in terms of fights, training was in the manga really good. No, in the manga it wasn't good. In the anime it was good because we saw the motivation of Tien, Krillin, and Yamcha and Chaozu in quotation marks. What they went through to even get before reaching Korin's tower, and their motivation to surpass Goku after seeing him beat an entire army and save the world by defeating the Demon King Piccolo. You see Goku dodge lightning, you see Goku learn how to move without thinking, honing his reflexes, his other senses, reaching new senses like by fishing with a fishing rod, becoming a fighter who is really focused on fighting. And when he fought Tien, we saw how he figured out something like Tien splitting his power into 4, which you wouldn't expect Goku being able to do math. Like, he probably can't calculate the square of a number like 144, but he can probably figure out how much percentage of his power he's using, or estimate how much power he needs to use to defeat a certain other character. In that regard, yes, Goku was pretty impressive. And King Piccolo had some really dangerous techniques. The choreography on action and Goku's techniques and strategy were really on a whole different level. It was really entertaining to watch. But what drags it still down is that Piccolo was just really stupid in the fight. He made a lot of obviously dumb decisions, like Goku acting like if Piccolo grew a little bigger it would be more troublesome, and Piccolo actually increased his size just because of it, falling for such a cheap lie. Oh god, you really think if you read especially the manga, you see how Toriyama didn't even take the fight serious. Piccolo is just much a joke, like in the Piccolo Daimo arc. You also see how Piccolo actually improved compared to how strong he is compared to Kami, who is obviously stronger than King Piccolo, who was also weaker than Mr. Popo. We see Master Roshi finally passed on the torch, which is really satisfying. People won't need to rely on him anymore. That was also good, but I don't think think the arc was better than the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai in my opinion, so it won't even rise above B rank. And lastly, the Shadow Dragon arc, which from premise alone is amazing. The ending is amazing, not just because of remembering older Dragon Ball, but also in terms of bringing Goku's character full circle, him taking responsibility for overusing the Dragon Balls, and actually that going and losing, turning Dragon Balls in actually antagonists, using a quote from old Kaioshin and turning in actually something that was foreshadowed. What holds the arc back is that The first dragons were defeated by Deus Ex Machina, and some felt like they really didn't pose a threat. Goku could have beaten them with ease. So the only fights that really mattered were against Kree Shinlong, San Shinlong, Si Shinlong, and Yi Shinlong. And also everyone else not coming to help Goku and Pan also was questionable, with the exception of Vegeta, who was actually training. And his character arc also being shown how much it progressed is also a really satisfying moment. He wasn't chasing after Goku's D, and he actually did suggest fusion immediately after obtaining a new power. I'm sure people would have wanted him to take on a few Shadow Dragons before that and show some Super Saiyan 4 action, but I think this it wouldn't have the same impact. So if GT were to continue after the Shadow Dragon arc before the time skip, I think Vegeta should have gotten a really good fight in Super Saiyan 4. But I think, but honestly, how do you follow out on an arc where the Dragon Balls were the final opponents? It was a really satisfying way to end Dragon Ball, to be honest. It's still a mediocre arc, since there's not too much action, and I can imagine people getting tired of Pan and Goku and Giro every episode. Also, the arc was really short, so there isn't a big damage in terms of quality, but yeah, there are some would have been preferable to see some less joke fights, and if the joke fights were actually somewhat a lot more funny instead of questionable. So we are going to talk about the C ranks, and we are starting off with the best one, which is the other world tournament. Oh man, the other world tournament is, if you take the Universe 6 arc and actually have some meaningful stakes, good fights, and reasonable choreography, and something to look forward to in terms of stakes, then yes, you get the universe, you get the other world tournament. So I will make a separate video while these arcs are pretty much copies of each other, or to better say that the Universe 6 arc is a discount other world tournament. We will talk about that later. What you need to know is, we are after the Cell Saga, Goku is dead. So they went to the home of Grand Kai, where all the Kais for some reason came together, and they made fun of King Kai, who is the North Kai, died. and he became the butt of all jokes there. And then the Grand Kai was introduced and really hyped up because he's the boss of all the Kais. So he probably has even better tricks up his sleeve compared to King Kai. So King Kai is the god of gods, and there are 5 of them, and one is the boss of them, which is the Grand Kai. And what actually then happened is they decided to make a tournament where the winner of that tournament would be trained by the Grand Kai. And honestly, but not the Kais are fighting, but the students they had over the years. So King Kai had trained several students during his lifetimes, and we actually see some of them, like Hercules. Yes, that's his name. And the Veskai had a runner-up called Paikuhan or Paikon, whichever you call it. And we see somewhat of what Paikon is capable of. And he and Goku were ordered to look after hell and stop some evildoers. So Goku and Paikon went there to stop Freeza, King Cold, Cell and the Ginyu Force from wreaking havoc. Goku powered up in Super Saiyan Over, which for some the animators did a stupid error. They originally wanted Goku to kick the Ginyu Force ass as a Super Saiyan, but then they decided not to do that, probably because they wanted Goku to keep that form later to fight Pycon to surprise and everyone else. So Frieza was pissed, and Cell decided to take shit over himself and got his ass kicked by Pycon alongside everyone else, all the other evil guys. And then they were put into the prison, showcasing Pycon as a league of its own, which will be questionable, but overall it set up Pycon as a top tier fighter that even surpasses the power of Cell, it seemed. Anyways, we see the tournament start. The winner will be trained by the Grand Kai. King Kai and West Kai decided to make a bet. If it wasn't really clear, if King Kai were to lose, he would become West Kai's servant, and if West Kai were to lose, he would share his planet with King Kai, who lost his planet. As that happened in behind doors. So the tournament starts. We see some interesting fights, we see some fun fights, we see some questionable fights. It's a filler arc, so not every arc fight will be great and matter, but it was a grandiose, many fights were shown. I think Goku versus the tickling caterpillar was fun, where the caterpillar then decided to cover himself with his become a cocoon and would preparing to transform, which would increase his power by God knows by how much. It turns everyone was in suspending, man, what dangers of a guy he would be, but it turns out the transformation is completed after 1,000 years, and it was great to see how nobody was really willing to wait 1,000 years for this caterpillar dude to finish his transformation, so Goku was declared the winner. Would be interesting to see what he would become. So later we see actually Pycon again in action against Hercules, who did put a decent fight. I think because of the name Hercules and being such a copy of of a Greek god, but the son of not sure what Hercules even is. He never made it into a Dragon Ball game, despite being portrayed as some kind of an important character. So in the finals we see Goku and Pycon fight, where Pycon just throws his heavy weight, which seemed even heavier than Piccolo's, and Goku then showed his Super Saiyan form. And it was quickly established that Pycon is maybe weaker than Goku, I assume, but he's way faster than Goku. So they showed to be even, which is questionable because Cell was stronger than Goku, and even got a Senkai, and so it's not exactly clear what happened. Did also revive people from Cell's body somehow cut his strength? That's really confusing, and let's not talk about that. It's a really confusing plot hole and it's filler, so that's why it's one of the reasons why it's so C arc and C rank. And what was amazing about this fight is obviously the techniques Pycon used, like his hyper tornado, his thunder flash. So, and even we saw the Super Kaioken, which was really meaningless. Didn't need to see that. He just used Kaioken and punched Goku, Pycon once. So it wasn't really a hype moment like it was in Universe 6. This is the only positive thing the Universe 6 arc had above the other tournament. Other than that, how did Goku seemingly win? It was he witnessed Pycon's attack twice already, and now he's about to get hit by a third one, and he realized that there's a long execution moment until Pycon can fire that super high speed flames. So Goku prepared a Kamehameha, and in the transmission Kamehameha won. At least that's what's supposed to be. But the Grand Kai figured out that both hits the inverse ring, which is really very very high on the top, and apparently if you touch that you are disqualified, which both did in the same time. And the reason why nobody really looked at that rule, and probably that rule didn't even exist, but depends on the adaptation you watch. There are two reasons why Grand Kai didn't want to train both of them. As the international world reason is these guys are way too strong for him, so there's nothing he can teach them. The Japanese version was it was established that Grand Kai is easygoing and a lazy guy, and then he realized, damn, I have to train one of those people who win. That will be a pain in the ass. So he tried to get away that slip out of that responsibility. But honestly, in terms of stakes, why was it good? Obviously, being trained by the Grand Kai, even if you are a billion times stronger, should be really worth it just to learn his secret techniques. Like, if King Kai taught you Kaioken and Spirit Bomb, Genki Dama, what possible amazing techniques can the boss of King Kai have? Just think about it. Maybe even something like Ultra Instinct, Ultra Ego. I'm not joking, he may have some really good techniques that aren't rip-offs of actual martial art techniques Goku learned as a kid already. So in that case, yeah, it was a really entertaining arc, but the stakes were high, they weren't high enough to speak, and Goku already became the strongest under the heavens, and we went way too fast for a stake like that to matter much. But it was a nice way to close up Goku's character until we get to finally let Gohan take the torch and become an amazing character and savior of planet Earth, which will definitely happen. Yeah, think about that. And there's a reason why the other tournament is the best arc so far in the C rank. Let's go to the Garlic Junior arc, which may surprise you. So Garlic Junior arc is kinda a plot hole, because if you want to fit the movie which this arc is the sequel of, the Garlic Junior movie doesn't fit to the main timeline, to the main story timeline. And if you never watched the movies, you are wondering where the fuck does this guy come from here. So it can take you out from the story. Otherwise, it was really terrifying when Garlic Jr. turned pretty much everyone into a demon. And the arc had a really good start, and the heavenly realm got invaded by Garlic Jr. and his underlings, and we see finally Kami being involved, which is actually great because Kami has been in the backseat for a while now, and it would make sense if we finally get him some purpose again. He's a god after all, so Garlic Jr. also wants to steal his position, and he had the power to do so. His power has been growing a lot thanks to the Makio star, which gave the demons a big power boost. So we also find out he wants revenge from Gohan, because Gohan was the reason he was sealed. He was also wanted to fight Goku, because Goku is also one of his enemies. Another highlight. So before we go to the highlights, let's discuss. Gohan managed to escape from the evildoer gas. So did Krillin and his new girlfriend. Krillin had a new girlfriend called Marin, one of the most amazing female characters in Dragon Ball, which doesn't say much because Dragon Ball doesn't really have amazing female characters. Even Lunch is just okay, and that's only if you take anime adaptation Lunch from the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai. And then you have the Spice Boys, so to speak, the underlings of Garlic Jr. And everyone attacking Gohan, Krillin, and Marin, being saved by Piccolo, and they decided it's the best just to go to the Holy Palace and stop Garlic Jr. before everyone turns permanently into a demon. So they let Marin at Master Korin and Yajirobe and went to fight Garlic Jr. And that part was really interesting. And Piccolo became evil apparently, and one of the guys tried to stop him from fighting against Gohan, because Gohan was Piccolo's prey, and we saw some of the Spice Boys beating up Gohan and Krillin, for they wanted but Garlic Jr. wanted to finish off Gohan, and there was something interesting where Gohan was about to get a power boost several times, and one of Garlic Jr.'s underlings disobeying Garlic Jr. and deciding they have to kill Gohan, otherwise they will be killed. And even after that, Gohan just murdered these half of Garlic Jr.'s underlings. Eventually, Garlic Jr. and Piccolo and would fight Gohan and get to bite Krillin, who then also became a demon apparently. Later, during the fight, when it appeared like Piccolo was going to hit the final blow, Garlic Jr. intervened and stopped him, which gave Piccolo the opening to free Kami and Mr. Popo. And taking their glasses, which they were sealed in, and Krillin freed them. So they were faking being brainwashed, which in the Japanese version really didn't work so well. I think it's reasonable that Piccolo won't be brainwashed simply because he is technically a demon too. So you can't turn a demon into a brainless demon if he's already a demon. That's kinda headcanon to say, but Piccolo is a demon. It was already pretty much established. So he can be a Namekian demon, so nothing speaks against that. And it turns out Piccolo freed Kami simply because he is linked to Kami, and him being in Garlic Jr.'s possession and sealed prevents him to fight at full power. And after his restrictions are gone, he was pretty much dominating Garlic Jr. and Mr. Popo and Kami would go to the graveyard of the gods to reach a place where they can deliver the holy water to stop everyone who was brainwashed by Garlic Jr. to be unbrainwashed. So everyone fights, and Garlic Jr. Then tells Piccolo that the Makio star is coming close and making him and his underlings even stronger, which actually happened. He powered up and pretty much almost surpassed Piccolo before Piccolo then showed that he has still the speed advantage and almost really seemed like he would have a chance against Garlic Jr., but as Piccolo was suffering in the God's graveyard, so was Piccolo, and that gave Garlic Jr. an opening to beat up Piccolo too. And Gohan would eventually beat the rest of the Spice Boys despite their power up, and Krillin and him would kinda help Piccolo, and it seemed like they would finally their efforts are for naught because Garlic Jr. is immortal, so he can't be killed. From the movie he wished to be immortal, so and Garlic Jr. wanted to pay back what happened to him and opened another stupid death zone, which is the only way he can be defeated with, and he used that attack again. That alone puts him down in C rank, if you wonder. And it was pretty much Gohan finally deciding to stop worrying about protecting himself from the death zone, that they were able to defeat Garlic Jr. because now he can focus on attacking, and he destroyed the star that gave Garlic Jr. that power, and Garlic Jr. then was taken by the death zone again. So it was pretty much a repeat if you watch the movie, and it's kind of stupid, but otherwise, um, it was a fine arc. It it there's an obvious plot hole which you can't deny simply because you can't fit the movie into the timeline, so it kind of feels weird. And this concept of everyone becoming evil would be done in the baby arc far better. So there wasn't much problem with everyone turning into a demon and being evil. It was kind of like a horror movie, if anything. But other than that, meh. The fights were intense and entertaining. From what I see, the Garlic Junior's underlings had actually free will instead of just listening to their master, like the Ginyu Force and Frieza's forces being just cowards who listen to their masters. They have more layers to their character, which makes them much more interesting in my opinion. Comic relief, obviously Marin was a highlight of the arc. He was just making everyone mad without even trying, acting all nice and such. She was Bulma if she's like Bulma, but didn't have a toxic personality. She had a fun personality, and nobody could really really blame her. She was always entertaining when she did something pissing off characters. You really didn't feel like really bad. You kind of felt bad for Krillin pretty much, because it's the first time this guy gets a girlfriend and she just goes the moment where Krillin realized he isn't can't give her what he thinks she deserves. So she went just with the next hot guy she met. But she did have feelings for Krillin, it appeared. Like there was this underwater level where they what underwater level? I meant that underwater episode where they tried to get some pearl, which was covered pretty much by every living creature under the water, and Krillin and Gohan realized, wait a moment, we are now the bad guys. The fishes died trying to protect that one pearl, and so Gohan and Krillin really retreated instead of really going for the pearl at the end. Back to the actual Garlic Junior saga. Yeah, Marin was playing a card game against Yajirobe and Korin and ripping them pretty much off everything they pretty much had. What a badass. No, that isn't badass, but it was really amazing. She was really entertaining to watch. So just for Marin, I can recommend the Garlic Junior arc. For the personal stake for God, sadly no Goku. I see people complaining that nobody but Goku matters, and in this arc Goku wasn't around. Vegeta was in space hunting after Goku, trying to find where he is, defeating Frieza's forces that remained, as it was entertaining in its own way, but otherwise there's that. And let's go to the next arc, which has a similar looking character on the cover here. It's aged Pilaf, who after years of research discovered that the Dragon Balls were created by God, and God's palace being in the heavens, and he figured out that there is another set of Dragon Balls sealed for some reason, and he went there to get them for himself. But then they probably didn't have any idea these Dragon Balls were sealed for some reason for decades, and nobody really before the technology advancement could actually reach the Holy Palace. No, even Pilaf can't reach it. So they did. But after summoning the Dragon, Goku arrived and wondered what's going on, and by accident Pilaf wished for Goku to become a kid. And the Dragon Balls scattered around the universe, so the Pilaf King had to go away since they wasted the only wish they could have gotten. We find out why these Dragon Balls were sealed off, and it turns out Kami created them when he was fused with Piccolo before they split up in two entities, and the former god realized how dangerous they are, but they couldn't be destroyed by, not even God could destroy these Dragon Balls, so they had to seal them away. And now the dangerous thing is, if these Dragon Balls aren't brought back where they were used within a year, the planet where they used to be would be destroyed. You can say what you want about it, but okay, that's a reasonable stake to have a new adventure. And it wasn't a insanely big stake, but I think it's fine, a good reason to have a simple adventure, since everyone could just go to another planet or evacuate and later wish back the Earth. But nobody really wanted to leave the planet, so Goku went with Trunks, and originally should have left with Goten, but Pan, who was introduced, pretty much hijacked the ship and flew away. Over the adventures they meet Gero, who ate the Dragon Ball Raider and became the new sentient Dragon Ball Raider. Over the course of the travel through various planets and giving us some interesting places to go, we find out about machine mutants, which is what Gero is. They are machines but have organic machines, so to speak. So they have cells inside them and such, and were apparently created by Dr. Gero lookalike named Dr. Mew, so to speak, alien Dr. Gero. So they had to stop him on freeing slaves from one planet, and later invade planet M2 and fight General Rildo, and the arc ended with Trunks and Gero, who was exposed as a double agent who pretended to be baiting the Saiyan group to Earth and let them being trapped so they can get too close to Dr. Mew and expose his plans by, pretty much that way. So he was never a bad guy, and this led to the discovery of Baby, and after Baby seemingly was defeated, Dr. Mew was defeated, and this is how the arc pretty much ended. But it was a organic transition to one of the best arcs. The Black Star Dragon Ball arc was had a good start and a really good ending with how Dr. Mew was defeated. The fight against General Rildo was pretty impressive. He was a really unique fighter who took advantage of, he had military experience, so he would, despite being weaker than even base form Goku, he would use his metal beam to create traps, immobilize his enemies, and even create place his troops in a way they can ambush Goku. I think Science Scholar made a great video about that, which you should take a look at. So General Rildo, one of the best and underrated characters, not just because he is stronger and has greater powers than Majin Buu, but being a great character in general. One of the best underling characters. What puts the Black Star Dragon Ball or the Ultimate Dragon Ball arc down to C, and it's pretty much a mixture of a lot of things. So Goku turning into a kid is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's a neat way to stop the arc to end immediately. So what Goku could do is just instant transmission from planet to planet and solve a lot of problems. He could just ask Kibito Shin for help if needed. If a foe too strong would appear, he could teleport to Earth and get Vegeta and teleport back and thus be defeating the enemy. There were lots of things that was kinda stopped by that. Goku also had to get used to his childly body. So, okay, he figured out how to transform against in a Super Saiyan, and we saw Goku accidentally destroy an entire volcano by accident with a Kamehameha. He actually just wanted to stop the volcano from erupting, but he just blew the whole thing out. And obviously Super Saiyan 3 is now pretty much restricted from using. So it was a nice way to nerf Goku. What wasn't good is sometimes it feels like basic characters struggled against a lot of things they didn't need to struggle, and one of these things being these giant worms. How did they have so much trouble with just some stupid worms? Like Goku figured out a weakness, but still similarly. The Power Brothers were a highlight. There was a gag scene I liked, where later everyone was the Power Brothers and Pan, and were absorbed by by God of Destruction Loot, as the only way to stop Loot was to destroy his core from inside and outside. So they needed to tell Goku that, and Pan asked if any of them have telepathy, and the Power Brothers said yes they have, and they put out some microphones and started to rhyme. Not sure, they talked in a weird way, and they told Pan that's the only way they can talk per telepathy, which turns out to be a lie, and Pan realized they were exposed them after finding that out, which was a good gag scene. Also the fight against Mochi was funny, and Mochi, after he becomes a whip guy, as a whip became the whip guy, and he was an interesting opponent. Everything he touched with his whip becomes a turn. Any inanimate objects becomes alive. If he hits a bat, that bat would go after you. So he had some creative powers, but it felt like really stupid that Goku struggled as much as he did. But yeah, you can, as that was pretty much annoying. And the guy has energy absorption, everyone's favorite. So even in Super Saiyan, Goku struggled as his life force was being drained. In the fight against Loot, we see Goku and Trunks really doing well despite being weaker. Loot had a lot of power, and after he reached level 3, they refused going Super Saiyan for some reason. But it was clear that Goku was, I think, holding back because he knew Pan was inside of Loot and there were a lot of people alive inside. A character that pretty much ruins the arc is Jacky, who is obviously a pedophile. So it kinda that was a cringy part of that arc. Really didn't enjoy that. The catfish episode was also really questionable. Like, there's a catfish who said to cause earthquakes with his whiskers, but in reality he was just predicting the earthquakes. So but there were also some cute episodes, like Pan trying to become useful, like running away, searching for the oasis and the Dragon Ball, after hearing that Goku and Trunks wanted to go back and pick up Goten and leaving Pan. She tried to do everything to become useful for the group, because she didn't want to stay on Earth and be bored to death. And we also saw how Pan tried to handle criminals, how she reacted after finding out her grandpa is younger than herself, and growing some kind of respect for Goku over the course of the series, and Trunks being the voice of reason, and him planning alongside with Giru to expose Dr. Mew's plan. Another thing I liked is obviously Logic. The fight against Logic was really a highlight. He creates weapons out of his body, and he was surprisingly strong, which you can say, how could he force Goku to go Super Saiyan? And I always thought that Goku was just getting used to his body, pretty much. But there were a lot of questionable things, like I said. The middle portion was kinda boring, like the catfish episode, the part with the bombs. The Power Brothers are funny, but their dance kinda dragged out a little. And lastly, Taki was a mistake. If he didn't exist, the arc would have been much better. Next, I think we go to the Super 17 arc. How many? We are almost talking 1 hour. Honestly, I'm kinda tired. So next time we are talking about the Super 17 arc, the Buu arc and the Cell arc, and the Super arcs will get their own video. So see you around, and